Thank you, everybody, for your patience. It is 6:30 p.m. and we will begin this committee of the whole. And we are live streaming YouTube, and I apologize for the planning meeting that was not live streamed. We were having technical difficulties with YouTube at the time. So for those of you who join us now for committee of the whole on YouTube, welcome. So the first item of business is adoption of the agenda. And that is moved by Councillor Maybe, seconded by Deputy Mayor Fody, that the agenda be adopted as circulated. Any additions, deletions? I have no hands up, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Next item is declaration of carrying interest and general nature thereof. Does anybody have an interest to declare? There's no hands up, but I actually have a interest in 7.2 on the private road grant program. The road that I live on is one of the applicants and will be a recipient of funds should it pass. So I will excuse myself and Deputy Mayor Fody will come forward to run the meeting at that time. So the next item is in camera, and there is none, and there's nothing to report out of in camera. There are no delegations or presentations this evening, and we'll move on to staff reports. 7.1 Tower Application T00-2024-001. I'm assuming that should be 2025.
Through you, no, it's a 2024 application.
Okay, I just didn't know if that was because we've moved into a new year. So this is from last year.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, just wanted to make sure. So the motion comes forward from Councillor Maybe and seconded by Deputy Mayor Fody, whereas a consultation process has occurred regarding a proposed communication facility tower at 557A Reynolds Road for Explorer Inc., represented by Forbes Brothers Limited, the agent, whereas telecommunication facilities are regulated by Innovation Science and Economic Development Canada, formerly Industry Canada, under the Radio Communication Act, which requires proponents to consult with local land use authorities and follow local protocol concerning location of such facilities. Whereas the township has a consultation protocol described in telecommunication tower and related facilities protocol, the protocol which includes the council providing comment on the proposed tower. Now, therefore, council directs staff to submit a letter of concurrence to the agent indicating that the agent has complied with the protocol, and further, the letter shall also indicate that in the event the tower is no longer required, Explorer Inc. shall remove the tower from the property. Discussion on this motion. I have no hands up online, so I will call, oh, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Lackey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just about the towers in general. Especially Explorer, when there's so many other options. I know it's been brought to the table already. There's so many other options that this is a redundant piece of equipment, as far as I'm concerned. But I would like some reassurance that it comes down or something is done with it if it's not used. Because sooner or later, we're going to have all these toothpicks sticking up out of the ground everywhere, and there'll be like no tower road north of us here. One day there was a tower, the next day there wasn't. We were just fortunate that there were no houses nearby that it was able to take with it. I know it's been brought up before about having them deconstructed at the end of their life, but I've never seen anything that makes me feel warm and fuzzy about that.
So, Ms. Venditti, do you want to speak to the clause that says Explorer Inc. shall remove the tower from the property in the event that it's no longer required?
Certainly, we started to include that based on discussion through council. It goes beyond what our protocol speaks to. So the best we can do is make the comment and hope that it's part of their process. But because we don't regulate it, we don't permit it, we can ask, and that's about the best we can do.
Go ahead, follow up.
But we could deny the application if they don't give us something, correct?
Ms. Venditti?
We don't approve or deny. We are asking for comment from council that they have concurred with our protocol, which they have done in this situation. That's what the government is looking for. The federal regulation is looking for from us, is is there a comment? I guess the only other thing I would note is that this is part of the federal initiative to bring internet to our area and improve access. So there's a mandate to get this done. So if we put it in the letter, hopefully it goes somewhere, but I can't speak to that, just like I can't speak to the timing for construction and how these processes move forward.
Any other comment in regard to this? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Foote.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. My only thought was the close proximity to an existing tower. I assume that's been taken care of, obviously, by whatever powers may be. I would have thought that an applicant would make use of an existing tower. In my own mind, it'd be much cheaper to put up receiving dishes and signaling dishes and so on. But I mean, it's up to the applicant, obviously. But I just thought the close proximity of two towers just seemed a little odd to me. Thank you.
Go ahead.
We asked that question at the very onset of the process, and the comment back was that the existing tower is at capacity and that another tower is needed.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? I have no hands up, so I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Next item on the agenda is the private road grant, so I will relinquish the chair at this point in time to the deputy mayor and leave the room.
Okay, I have a motion here moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Maybe. The committee of the whole recommend the council approve the allocation and payment of $25,000 in private road grants in brackets maintenance stream as proposed in Exhibit A to Operations and Infrastructure Report number 2025-002. Comments or questions from council?
Sorry, through
Councillor-
you, Deputy Mayor. Can
Sorry?
we just have another mover that is in the chair, please? Thank
Should-
you.
You
Yeah.
should, I should?
Yeah,
Okay,
Angie.
thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor, maybe go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. My one question was there any discussion on what kind of improvements some of this money's going for, just as a brief kind of outline of what they're looking to do?
Thank you. You, Deputy Mayor. So this is the maintenance activity one. This is for graveling the laneways, snow plowing, sand. We do have the second grant, which is for the capital stream, and that's where they apply for ditching and widening of the roads and brushing to bring it up to the standard. But this one is strictly for the maintenance of the lanes themselves.
Any other questions from council? Councillor Grell, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, through you, Your Worship. When I read the list, just clarification, when I see Burns Charleston Lake Cottagers, and then just below I see Burns Cottage Road Association. And I'm assuming that those are very separate issues or applicants, even though they share a name. And secondly, my second part to that question would be, when we're doing the grants, do we take into consideration in the algebra just how many homes are being serviced on whether it's a kilometer or 5 kilometers? Because the obvious would be 5 homes could be receiving the benefit, or 1 home, or a dozen. I just wondered if how we address that, or do we worry about it? We're just worried about safety and so on. Thank you.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor. Burns Lane and, sorry, the Burns Charleston Lake Cottagers Association and the Burns Cottage Road Association are
Okay.
2 separate lanes.
Okay.
One is 5.2 kilometers and one is 3.5.
Sure.
In terms of the evaluation, we do evaluate it based on the policy, which is strictly by the kilometer. We don't look at how many residents are on the lane, just strictly by the kilometer for that evaluation. That is correct. There has to be more than 2 households on the committee. There are some, several different parameters that they have to meet when it comes to that. And I think I have it here. So, apologies. Yeah, and maybe it's not in here, but there are more than 2 members, and a majority of the Lane Association have to submit and agree. We have to have minutes. Like, there are several parameters that they have to submit when they put their application in.
Any other questions from council? Yeah,
Just if
Councilor
I
Brown,
may.
go ahead.
Really just a brief follow-up, and I'm not sure that to the big scheme of divvying up $25,000, is there any need in that policy to weigh out A, how long the lane is, and B, put in an element, it's just algebra, put in an element of weighting for how many homes are there. Because I see, it's pretty obvious what we do now is we have $300 and some per kilometer, but and I appreciate if it's minimum of 2, that's a much better benefit for 2 homes than it would be for 12 homes. I just wondered if it wouldn't be rocket science, I don't think, to put an algebra together that would weigh that. Is that something that council might be interested in, or do we not worry about it in that it's split amongst 26 applicants and so on? Thank you.
I'll let the Director of Operations, you want to answer that? Oh, our CAO was going to answer it, Steve.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And through you, that's something we'll take a look at and see how it would play out through some modeling. And it's an interesting point, and we'll take it back and see what we can come up with.
Thank you.
Okay, our Director of Operations is going to weigh in.
Yeah, if I can just add to that, the cost of maintenance per kilometer doesn't change whether it's 2 homes or it's 5. On the flip side of evaluating how many homes are on the lane, the cost of maintaining that kilometer road is spread over less homes. If it's 2 homes instead of 5, where you would have more funding from the 5 homes contributing to it than you would with 2 homes on it. It's more cost for them to try to maintain that.
Right.
But yeah, certainly we can look at that for sure.
Again, I see your point though. That's a very good point. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I have a question myself, the Director of Operations. Have we encompassed pretty much all the road groups, I guess I would call them, that are looking for this, or do we still have some that are not in compliance because of minutes and financial records and such?
We've been contacted by several lane associations interested in this. There are some stipulations, obviously, that they have to overcome by joining a lane association, having a bank account in the name of the lane association rather than a private bank account with 2 signatures. That seems to be a bit of a hurdle where we don't hear from them for a bit, and then they'll pop back up later. But certainly that does put some structure to it and put some security measures in place that it's not on one person and it's actually tied to the lane rather than being tied to individuals. So I think there's a benefit to it, but certainly we've been consistent with the amount of lanes that are submitting year after year. 26 last year and 26 this year. Where we're seeing some increases is with the capital grant and a lot of interest in it actually for doing the improvements so that emergency services can access those residents on private lanes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council? Okay, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I know, right, making.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can have your turn.
Is that yours?
Looking to see if
I think that's your copy.
Yeah.
I think so. This was yours.
Okay, so we'll move forward with 7.3. RFT 2025-001, supply and delivery of granular material. And the recommendation, motion comes forward from Counselor Kelman, seconded by Counselor Lackey, that the committee of the whole recommend that council award tender OPS-2025-001, supply and delivery of granular material to G. Tackberry and Sons Construction Company Limited for a 3-year term ending May 15th, 2028. Discussion on the motion? Go ahead, Counselor Kelman.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to the director. I just wondered, first of all, what kind of a cost increase we're looking at from when the last contract was, tender was awarded 3 years ago. And also just wanted to confirm that these prices are locked in for the duration of this 3-year tender.
Thank you, through your worship. I apologize. I'm just loading it up as we speak. Looking at the pricing from 2022, we have had some increases obviously since then. We have COLA or cost of living included in our annual increases. So in 2022, when this contract was awarded, it was a little different. We didn't have the same the diversity of materials that we use now, but generally the costs are looking at about $2 per ton from 3 years ago until now, which I think is consistent with the increases that we're seeing with other items that we tender out. Yeah, and the costing is locked in for the 3-year period with those annual increases.
Okay, any other questions? I have no hands up online or in the building, so I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Next item is 7.4 RFT-OPS-2025-004, supply, mix, and deliver winter sand. And the motion comes from Counselor Lackey, seconded by Counselor Kelman, that the committee of the whole recommends that council authorize staff to award tender OPS-2025-004 for the supply and mixing of winter sand to G. Tackberry and Sons Construction Company Limited in the amount of $178,375.10, inclusive of net HST. Discussion on the motion? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question. Is this taken in 2 deliveries a year? I see on the weekly update that the sand domes were just recently refilled. So is that how it's handled? Twice a year? Comes in summer and again about now?
Through your worship. So we have it open that we can call on sand any time of year. And we'll have the annual pricing up until, we fill up again for the next winter season. So if we typically fill in September for the winter, and then again, because our dome isn't sized to accommodate the entire winter, we fill up at some point throughout the winter. If we had a significant winter where we had to fill up twice, then we're covered under that pricing from the fall previous. And then the pricing will step up in August of the following year for that, the next cycle of winter events.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Counselor
Just 2 questions. Do we use a consistent mixed sand and salt, and what would that be? And B, how do we arrange when we're using Front of Yonge, the dome, I guess, on Highway 5? Thank you.
Go ahead, Director.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that. Do we mix the sand and salt? Was that the
Or does it come pre-mixed?
Thank you. Through your worship, the salt comes through our contract that we have with the county. So we have that shipped in at the same time that the sand is being delivered. And then part of the contract with Tackberry is that they bring the mixer and the stacker and they mix it all up for us. So then when it goes into the dome, it does have that proper mix for winter control. Front of Yonge goes through the similar process with Tackberry, and they pay the same rate that we do, the salt through the county and then the sand through Tackberry. So when we use their sand, we keep track of it with our onboard computers, and it tells us how much of their sand that we used, and we back charge ourselves for that. And then any sand that we put out in Front of Yonge, we charge them for that material.
Okay, thank you.
So it's netted out.
It is netted
So-
out, yes.
So it's, which is good because that benefits both of us, right?
Yeah.
Because the whole purpose we're taking from their dome is to make sure that we're not deadheading on the way back.
That is correct.
Fair enough. Okay, great question. Thanks, Councillor Rowe. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it's carried. Next item is 7.5 two-year dust suppressant program. Motion is from Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Lackey, that the committee of the whole recommends that council award tender OPS 2025-002 dust suppressant 18 to 22% to Road Maintenance Equipment and Services Inc., RMES, for the amount of $35,870.40, including net HST. That the committee of the whole recommends that council award tender OPS 2025-003 dust suppressant 30 to 35% to De La Dust Control Limited for an amount of $118,448.64, including net HST. So motions on the floor, discussion? Excuse me. Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the Director. Last year, did we have a bid from Miller, or we used Miller before? I heard, or thought I remembered that name at some point being used on this contract. And the Dali Dust, it's a new company that we haven't had on anything before, has it?
Through your worship, Daly is the contractor that we've been using, historically. Miller has not submitted for calcium in the past. They do provide our surface treatment. Well, historically, they have provided our surface treatment and microsurfacing products. So that's where you would have seen their name. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? I have no hands up, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? It's carried. Next item, 7.6, purchase of 2025 Volvo wheeled excavator. Motion comes forward from Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Lackey, that the committee of the whole recommends that council authorize staff to proceed with the purchase of a 2025 Volvo EWR 150R wheeled excavator from Norris Construction Equipment ST in the amount of $398,814.74, inclusive of net HST. Just as an aside, as per the report, this was an approved budget item in the 2025 budget, and coming in as expected. So any further comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. So the brushing head that's on this, is it a very extended, any sort of distance, or what is it capability?
Thank you, through your worship. Similar to the machine that we had do Maple Grove Road on the Tackaberry excavator. This is basically the same setup as what they have. It provides a clean product, and the reach on the machine is approximately 21 feet, the arm.
That's what I was thinking. Was it around 20 feet? So that answers that. And then it comes with 2 buckets. What type of buckets are those?
That's correct. So the machine that we've ordered comes with the standard tooth bucket. It comes with a ditching bucket with the wristed twist, so we're able to do our ditching. And then in addition, it does come with that brush head as well too.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I have Deputy Mayor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. This machine, would it not have a higher reach capacity because of the location of the rotary on that machine as compared to the tractor mount? Tractor mount is pretty limited to its height based on the 3-point hitch effect, whereas this is already elevated about 5 to 6 feet higher besides the length of the boom on the machine. I'm just thinking when it's going down a road, it could reach another 5 or 8 feet higher than the other. I'm just guessing. I don't know it does.
That is correct. This one does reach higher. It has a multi-stage boom. So that the initial boom section goes vertical, and then there are 2 more sections beyond that. So it is able to reach higher than what we had been able to previously. I'm not sure exactly what the specs are specifically, but certainly we can get as high as we need to get.
Well, I'm thinking it'd be really advantageous on blind corners and intersections and things like that. You wanted to get things moved back. You know,
Correct.
for visions, purpose. I must say the little bit I know about this, I was impressed at the price. I thought this would come in significantly higher than that. I'm okay with the price we have. I'm not moving, we offer to pay more for it. But I mean, there's literally farm tractors come in at a much higher rate than that, and that's just a four-wheel vehicle. So this price looks good to me.
Council Corral, you had your hand up?
Yeah, thanks. Not so much about the vehicle. I was just wondering if it's appropriate to ask, with our new vehicle, I appreciate we get to do a lot of work. Do we still, will we still be contracting out some brushing? I had quite a number of calls this year because of the verdant nature of our year. It was obviously quite a growing year. Do we still contract out some work?
Go ahead, Director.
So in from 2023 to and 20 inclusive of 2024, we have had Tackaberry come in and help us out with a wheel excavator, just to provide some additional capacity to our tractor. What we found, and part of the reason why we wanted to go with the rubber tire excavator, we figured that the Tackaberry machine, similar to what we're purchasing, is about 4 to 5 times more efficient than the one that we were using previously. It's able to brush a significant amount of material more than what our machine is. So our hope is that our cycle for brushing will be drastically reduced as a result of that in-house.
Good. Okay, thank you.
I'll recognize Deputy Mayor Fode again.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. Just from an operator perspective, this would be a much easier machine to operate than the broken neck scenario that operators operate under now with a tractor and a side mount. They're constantly looking back and over their shoulder, whereas this machine, with its rotation, they could literally go down the road and stay square to what they're cutting. I would think it'd be much more user-friendly.
It's funny that you say that. Our operator who ran the John Deere tractor was quite passionate about that machine. And when we started talking about a rubber tire excavator, he was opposed to the concept initially. We brought a demo in 2024, and he was looking forward to this machine arriving, actually.
It's funny when you get into a routine of something that you've always done, and change may seem a bit weird and wonky, but when it comes around, it's probably the biggest blessing, and hopefully saves his neck, to say the least.
We did have a conversation about the stiffness of his neck as a result of brushing. Yes.
Well, we'll see if the motion passes here. So I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. So you can, once it's approved at council, you can let the gentleman know that his neck has been saved, so to speak. Yes. Next item is 7.7 RFT-OPS-2024-018 renovation restoration of Escott Hall and Springfield House. Moved by Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Mamie, that the Committee of the Whole recommends that Council approve the award of tender OPS-2024-018 for the renovation and restoration of Escott Hall, Springfield House to Phoenix Restoration, Inc. in the amount of $1,070,084.76 inclusive of the net HST. Discussion on the motion. Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was quite interested to see the cost differences from the highest to the lowest being almost half the cost itself. So it was interesting to see that the other, most of them were only $350 difference and not the $550. So it was a interesting diversion of numbers. I was kind of curious on that, but good to see it happening. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Fode.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. I know we discussed this last year, but I'm going to bring it up for the sake of two members of our community that confronted me with this yesterday. The question posed to me yesterday, why is it a secret who else bid? And we have discussed this, I know, in the past, and I feel that way myself. I know Councillor Lackey brought this up a year ago. I just feel that this type of submission of bids is wrong myself. So I'll leave my comments there. I've stated my feeling on it, and if anybody else cares to weigh in, thank you.
Just to add to that, I know that the county has gone through a new procurement overview. And they have shared or will be sharing with the lower tiers what they've come out with. It has been discussed again at county as well. So not to deviate too much from the motion that's at hand, but just to say that there has been two different stances that has come forward with naming versus not naming. And strangely enough, originally it was more heavily swayed toward not stating who the bidders were. But yet at the same time, sort of came back to a 50-50 split, and it was made clear by the staff, I believe, that it would be up to council to whether or not we publish them or not. It was up to us to make the decision. The CAO will have to clarify, but I'm sure that he can bring it up at the next CAO's meeting and find out where we're at with that, and we can look at our own policy regarding that. Okay. Okay, sorry, Councillor Grau, my apologies. There you go.
Yep, no, thank you, through you, your worship. To the Director of Ops, Dave, it's been some time and I always get a little bit confused as to what we finalized here. I guess, can you give a very brief overview of what we're getting for $1 million? And does it include any AOTA improvements that were required, or are we just bringing the buildings back to a usable function? Thank you.
Thank you, through your worship. So for the Springfield House, what we'll be doing is excavating around the foundation. We will be waterproofing and adding subdrain to the foundation with that building to try to get the water away. Doing some masonry repairs, repairing windows, putting a new roof on, replacing the sheeting underneath the roof. The idea is to make that building as watertight as possible, and so that not doing anything internally at this point, but certainly setting ourselves up that we can look at that in the future if need be. For the Escott project, this is the bigger part of it. We're looking at the same thing outside, with the exception of the foundation repairs, dealing with the masonry challenges, the windows, the roofing, making it AODA compliant for the front entrance. We're going to have the push button access to get in the door. Once you're inside, everything will be on one level for the public, with accessible washroom and also a secondary washroom as well that is not accessible. A kitchenette for the volunteers that work there. Nothing grand, just a microwave and a counter. Just want to clarify that. And then there will be a lift up to the second floor, because most of the members of the archives are elderly and have some accessibility challenges. Then we're going to have a lift that'll allow them to access to the second floor where the archives will actually be held. So there will be a second set of there will be a set of stairs as well that we have to make some adjustments to bring them up to standard. So the stairs will be adjusted. We're replacing the HVAC system, which is currently it almost seems like it's original there. It's oil fired currently, and we're switching that to a high efficiency propane furnace. Adding air conditioning as well to control the humidity, which will address any concerns that we have with the archives itself. And then flooring, we're insulating the inside of the building to make it more efficient as well. And then putting the proper finishes on to have that fire to meet the fire requirements that we have between first and second floor. That summarize, and lighting obviously up to LED. any electrical work that needs to be done as well. So once we're done with this building, it will be high and dry and quite efficient.
Okay, so just to paraphrase, that building will be AOTA
We will be
compliant,
compliant, correct?
and the archives can exist there in a reasonably climate controlled situation. And there's enough space for people to be working, and the public will have access to that building. Is that say pretty much where we're going?
That is correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Lackey.
Through your worship, to either the director of operations or our treasurer. As far as the grants on this particular project, has that ship sailed, or is there something that we perhaps may try for?
Thank you, through your worship. We have applied for several funding opportunities with this project. With that being said, on February the 5th, the Trillium Fund will open up again for the capital stream, and we do intend to apply for it once more. We will continue to try.
We will continue to apply for whatever grants that are available. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Okay, unfinished business. I don't believe we have any this evening. Other business. Any other business? Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As I had mentioned last week or last time, the Ontario Town Criers Championships will be held in Gananoque on May 17th, 18th. And I'll be the host crier, of course. And I'm hoping to have 20 there. And we will be applying for different funding streams to actually help with that one also. And look forward to some of the colleagues being judges and participating. So there may be another event that I will let you know next month, the first of the month, in regards to some town crier stuff also, but stay tuned on that.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Lackey.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through to you. I've recently, I just wanted to make mention, I've recently got mostly in private messenger and my own personal emails and in person. I've had several compliments on our staff. As we all know, our waste site attendants have been getting a lot of good publicity on social media, which is fantastic. I've also had private incidents relayed to me that were very impressive as far as the people who look after the waste sites, as well as planning department. To date in 2025, I've had almost half a dozen people compliment our planning department, which is very nice to hear. And I said I would promise to pass that along to the CAO and the powers that be. Also, I have one other thing, which is perhaps welcome, maybe not welcome, but it looks like we've been forced into some sort of a trade war with our partners down south. And I just wondered if there was an appetite within this room. We have several properties in this township, which are US owned, foreign owned. I won't just say US. And I don't know where we fall. It seems like purchases from foreign investors have a tax, which is the benefit of both provincial and federal governments. But I'm wondering if there's an appetite where we may see some of that benefit from foreign investment in our township.
I'll go to the CAO for that.
Thank you, Worship, and through you. I understand that it's being reported that the tariffs are on hold for at least another 30 days. I think it's a time for calm and cool heads until we know what we don't know currently. I think there is a prohibition on taxing, say, residential property or cottage property different. But that's something we can look into if that's council's direction to staff. We can see what other
Municipalities are doing.
tools we have at our disposal on that. But we'll take it away and we'll look at it.
Any
Excuse
further?
me, through you, your worship,
Oh, go ahead. Yep.
regarding tax, I would say the CAO is correct. A lower tier municipality would have, I think, zero power in that. That would be at least at county level, and perhaps beyond that. That's really I believe that's a provincial deal, but definitely not lower tier communities. Thanks.
Well, I'll have to challenge you on that. And the reason I will say that is because the city of Toronto has has an additional land transfer tax that they charge. So I'm not sure what
That's
the
Toronto.
that I know it is Toronto, and I'm certainly not advocating, but to the point that Councillor Lackey
You
is
could
trying
call
to
it a fee.
call it an admin fee. So I think if I understand you correctly, Councillor Lackey, in light of the non-resident tax that is levied upon non-residents at the time of purchase, it's 25%. I'm currently working on a file right now in my other business. It's quite significant. And there are people that are willing to pay it to leave other jurisdictions, and I'll just leave it at that. However, to the point with recreation properties and whatever, there was a moratorium to a certain degree, but that seems to have been lifted for our clients anyways. But to the point, I think it's something that perhaps that would be a delegation to say to the powers that be at the province that if whoever's getting that 25%, perhaps that should be shared with the municipalities. And you know, you don't get what you don't ask for, but all good points made. Any other anything other business? Nope. Okay. So any notices of motion? I have no notices of motion. So mayor's update, I'll try to be brief. Super proud of the Leeds Thousand Islands Archives and the Public Library who won the Ontario Library Association Archival and Preservation Achievement Award. I know that it was a real feather in their cap, excuse me, that they won this award. And what made me smile the most about it was that it was a nomination from the former CEO of the library who had left us. So she very much enjoyed her time here and thought a lot of the volunteers who give their time and energy and passion to preserving the history of this township. And so that was a really nice gesture for her to make on behalf of our volunteers and all the work that they do here. So long list. Frostfest is this weekend up in Sealy's Bay, starting Friday night. I believe the opening ceremonies are 7 o'clock. Rockport Winter Carnival, I believe, is this weekend as well. So please check online for specifics on the events that are being held. Just a quick shout out to the organizers up in Sealy's Bay for the Abrams Brothers concert that was last Saturday night. What a great time, a lot of fun. There was 175 people that attended at the hall there, and it was probably one of the most touching versions that everybody sang of Country Roads with unbelievable harmony, which was quite overwhelming at the time. I don't think anybody expected it. So they are Juno award winners, and they're very talented musicians that spend a lot of time in Nashville. So it was great that they came out. They also told the story of their very first paying gig, which was at Frostfest. And so he was deeply moved to be able to come back and along with his brother to help support a community that supported them as young kids. So it was a lot of fun. Another reminder that the provincial election has been called. It is on February 27th. Elections Ontario is looking for workers. So if you have any desire to help out, please go online to Elections Ontario to apply for any of the many positions they'll need for poll workers. And be sure to educate yourself. There's a number of candidates in our area, and there will be a number of debates. I believe the Federation of Agriculture is having one on February 11th out in Toledo, excuse me, that I know of for sure. So please keep your eyes peeled for other events where you can go and meet the candidates. Lastly, I would like to say thank you to staff who helped us move forward with delegations at Roma. So I was at Roma along with Deputy Mayor Fody and Councillor Kelman, and we had a few delegations for TLTI and a number of other delegations for county and for the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. So I was running from one to the other. But we had a great delegation with the Parliamentary Assistant to Infrastructure. And unfortunately, at this point, we were not successful with our HUSIF application, but there is another round, which is coming out, I believe, March 5th. And we've been asked to resubmit the application at that time. And we will be further down the design at that point in time as well. We're also applying for CHIF funding, which is federal stream. So the pounding of the pavement continues at this point. We also had a delegation in regards to MTO billing on the 401 for our volunteer firefighters who are going to those calls, and how the department gets reimbursed, the municipality, and also a very good reception at that. Mr. Brzee was the gentleman that we spoke to that day. So, and we thank the other chief, the loyalist chief that came along with our chief to make sure that our voices were heard, as they have the same challenge in the loyalists. So have I forgotten any other events? Go ahead, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Correct. Thank you. So thank you to all of those who have submitted their applications online for the vacant seat in Ward 2. There are a few, and they're up on our website, I believe, for the public to view. It is open till Wednesday. So if you have interest in joining us here at the council table, please put your name forward. And then the application process will be finalized at next week's council meeting. So applications are due prior to end of business on Wednesday. Anything else? I
Mayor?
have Mr. Holiday. Oh, sorry, go ahead,
Yep.
Councillor Burrell, and
Just-
then I'll go to Mr. Holiday.
Just a very brief follow-up on a statement you made there at the Roma. Was it when you say use of funding didn't appear to be successful during a delegation, is that, I've always confused here, is that the funding for the water storage? Is that project
Go ahead, Mr.
that we're
Holiday.
anticipating?
Thank you, through your worship. That is correct. That's for the Housing Enabling Water Servicing
Yeah.
Fund.
Yeah.
For the water storage project that we were looking at.
Mhm.
But as the mayor had said, we're looking to apply for the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program, the Health and Safety Water Funding Stream. And that one actually opens up on February the 12th. So
Oh.
we will be applying for that one as well.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And are there any other events or anything else? Just a shout out to the members of the public in Sealy's Bay who held an open house for Mr. Jameson, who had given his notice, and it was well attended by locals. And it's great to see so many people out congratulating him, thanking him for his time here, sitting at the council table. And I thank you to staff who also attended to pass along our well wishes. So we do wish him all the best. And other than that, I have no hands up. So I will put a motion for adjournment on the floor, moved by Councillor Lackey, seconded by Councillor Kelman, that the committee of the whole adjourn at 7:19 p.m. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is